When you get so close to this big goal, it could be a health goal, it could be the dream job, it could be, really leveling up your business, it could even be a relationship goal. You get so close and then poof, it never happens. You never quite cross that finish line. I've been there, podsters. You've been there. Today, we are getting real. We are having some real talk around self sabotage and what we will all subconsciously do to protect this identity that we have and this identity that we've been carrying around with us and the behaviors that we sometimes come out that impedes our progress and that derails our success without us even knowing it. Buckle up, podsters. This one we go deep.
Are you ready to speak up, stand out, and get your seat at the table? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to Unmute Yourself, the podcast where you'll get real life anecdotes and actionable tools for you to step into your strengths, debunk imposter syndrome, truly know your worth, and show up like you own the room every time. I'm your host, Nancy Medoff, who did the thing and followed my passion for empowering women like you to unleash that inner spark and become who you know you are meant to be. I'm a diehard foodie with a raging Skittles habit who will not stop until women everywhere unmute themselves and truly thrive at work, at home, or wherever you may be. Let's do this.
Podsters, before we get started, I'm jumping in here because this community, my podsters, my ride or die, the OGs, you have been with me for 2 years. And I want to make sure that you are the first to hear about and take advantage of my Do the Thing retreat that's happening November 5th and 6th. Yes, one of those is election day. You can get an absentee ballot and come do the thing with 4 other like-minded women and me in beautiful Naples, Florida. Here's what this is. This is the way for you to actually do this thing that has been on your mind. Could be months, could be years. This could be something like speaking on stage, launching a podcast, writing a book, switching careers, telling your boss to take this job and shove it, making your side hustle your full-time gig, stepping into your next chapter of your life, your retirement, your career pivot, whatever the case may be. I have done all of these things. And more importantly, I have coached thousands of women to do the same. And trust me, podsters, when I tell you, this life that you think is on the other side of this thing, this life that you see other women living that you think might be available for you, it is. You simply have to do the thing. 2.5 days, 2 nights. It's a combination of one-on-one coaching with me, masterminding with, again, this small group of like-minded women. These are hand-chosen attendees, all of whom are high achievers, power women that simply need a little bit of time and a little bit of space away from their lives to sit down and actually do the thing. Most importantly, you are going to walk away with the tactical plan for how to do the thing. This retreat is not about sitting around and visioning and talking about the life that we want. Yes, we will do a little bit about that. This is about, okay, what's the tactical plan for how I will do it? Take my experience, all of these experiences I've had, the experience from the other women in the room, the coaching tools, the years of honing my craft. All of this is available to you, 2.5 days. Link is in the show notes. Sign up now. It's going to sell out very quickly because it's very, very small. I hope to see you there because I know what is on the other side of this thing for you. Podsters, it's time to just do the thing. What's up, podsters? How's your summer going? Mine is going fantastic. I'm pretty sure a lot of yours is going or are going fantastic as well because you probably or maybe created a summer bucket list. If you're wondering what that is, the beginning of this summer, I really wanted to make sure that I enjoyed myself and took advantage of everything summertime has to offer and didn't get caught up in my head or caught up in the day-to-day or caught up in the, I'll do that in the fall. I'll do that in the fall. I wanted to have fun. So I created a summer bucket list. I actually aired that episode twice. It's episode 107. And it was first aired, it was debuted on May 21st with an encore edition on July 2nd. So the reason I'm telling you this is because it's just been an epic summer and my garden looks great. I caught myself, this is one of the benefits of the summer bucket list too. When I was making a list for stuff that I wanted to do over the weekend, I literally wrote down fun. Like, what are you going to do for fun? And I penciled in two really fun activities. And guess what? I did them. So here we are enjoying our summer. Another thing, Podsters, I want to bring to your attention is a way that I've been able to have such a great summer was particularly this past week, I noticed I am scheduling downtime. Summer's very busy for a lot of us, a lot of barbecues, a lot of get togethers, a lot of traveling with our family. Great time, lots of great, in theory, downtime. What I find myself doing is packing that downtime and scheduling a lot of that downtime to catch up with people to do fun things. There's so much to do. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, you know that come December, you're probably not going to go outside a lot. And what I did was specifically picked one full day and night this weekend where I didn't make any plans. And it was fantastic. I hung out around the house. I got some stuff done around the house that had kind of been lingering. And this is kind of cool. One of the things that I wanted to do was return a tool that I had borrowed from someone. And when I went to return it, it's a gentleman and his wife that I'm friendly with. And when I took Danny with me, when we went to return it, we actually ended up hanging out with them for a couple hours in their yard. It was great, which might sound like, what's the big deal, Nancy? You hung out in their yard, BFD. It was a big deal because if I had made plans, I would have been like, oh no, I have to go do this. So scheduling the time to be able to go with the flow or to be able to seize the opportunity to just keep going, or however this shows up for you, it was incredibly awesome for me. And I'm kind of proud of myself that I did that. Anyway, the other thing that I noticed myself doing was July's very active. That was by design. It is my birthday, Podsters, or last week was my birthday. I don't know if I've been back since my birthday. And there've been a lot of very, very cool and fun and unique activities. And that means that there's a lot of makeup time, if you will, during the week for stuff that ordinarily I would have done over the weekend. So someone asked me to get together and I said, absolutely. I'm looking at August. Realistically looking at August. And I kind of hesitated to say that because one, I think I worry, as you might, that it sounds a little like, oh yeah, sure, August. Like I'll meet with you in like 3 weeks, which was not my intent at all. And also, I don't know, sometimes I'm hesitant to do that. We've talked about this a lot. I have at least 3 episodes dedicated to boundaries. Episode 50, episode 76, we brought in a boundary coach. I'm all about the boundaries, and yet still I find myself hesitating. Anyway, my point is, I said to this person, hey, yeah, I'd love to see you. I'm looking at August. And she said, great, no problem. Let's set something up. Perfect. Great. Worked out great. So imagine that I was able to take control of my time and my energy and be able to get together with this person. So that is my summer. Anywho, I hope you're having a great summer. So here's the thing. Here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot, and it's been coming up a lot in conversations because I've been seeing it, particularly with some clients, and I want to be able to help you with this. Because when I help others with something, it rubs off on me, and I would like to be able to continue to work on this myself. And this is the concept of self-sabotage. And this is a term that was pretty popular about 10 or 20 years ago. And this might be something that you're doing. It might be something that you're not doing. It might be something that's showing up in one area of your life and not in others. This might be something that's showing up in all areas of your life. Today, particularly, we're going to talk about self-sabotage in relationships, in your career, in your business, and or in your health or happiness. So, Podsters, as you're listening to this episode, I think it would be really helpful if you keep a little bit of an open mind and think about, my natural instinct is to say, well, I don't do that. I don't do that. And I know I do. I know I do at times. I'm going to give you a couple examples of when I do it. So as you're listening, perhaps listen with the intent of considering that perhaps you are exhibiting some of these behaviors. And I would say in at least one area of your life. especially, and this is really important, especially when you're at a tipping point, or especially when you're at an inflection point, or especially when you're about to have some kind of a big breakthrough. When you're right there at the precipice, that is when many of us intentionally or unintentionally, or consciously or subconsciously, self-sabotage and sabotage our success. And before I get into it, by the way, you might notice that my voice is a little hoarse. It is 6 a.m. on a Sunday when I'm recording this. I jumped out of bed ready to record this. I knew that this is what I wanted to talk about. I had some notes, and then I woke up this morning. I'm like, this is it. Do it. So my voice is a little hoarse in the morning, especially when I have coffee. So you're having coffee with me today, Podsters. Anyway, so the self-sabotage right when you're about to achieve that big goal. And I really want you to think about this. Again, it could be in a relationship. It could be in your career, your business, your health. When I am seeing that I'm doing this, I know, because I've been observing this in myself long enough, that I am protecting my old persona or protecting this identity. So I'm going to give you an example. So I have been overweight, or was overweight, struggled with my weight, whatever you want to call it, my whole life. And probably my late 20s, I got serious. I tipped the scale at like 217 pounds, I think. And if you're surprised by this, don't be. It is what it is. So, or try not to be. So anyway, 217 pounds, I lost 70 pounds, and I lost 70 pounds, 7-0, with Weight Watchers. And I'm forever grateful. My life completely changed. This is not something that I set it and forget it. I constantly have to think about this. I constantly have to, not constantly, but it's not easy for me, as it is for someone else who doesn't have this issue, to be able to kind of reel it in and make healthy choices. Anyway, I digress. So I lost the 70 pounds, and that's a lot of weight. And that's a lot of commitment and determination and practicing healthy behaviors. A lot goes into that. And you could equate this to anything. Anyway, every time I got within about a pound or so of my goal weight, I would stop. And this is fascinating. So think about it. You lose 70 pounds, and you are 1 pound away from this goal weight, which some could call it arbitrary, some might not, whatever. This is the weight that I set for myself. This wasn't something a doctor told me. Every time I would get within a pound, I would stop. And this has gone on for years. It's still going on. This has gone on for years. So I really had to think about, okay, I had to pause and think about, all right, why am I undermining my own success? Why? Oh, by the way, here's what it would look like. I'd just stop. I would stop doing what I knew I needed to do to continue towards that goal. So you can equate this to your business, your career, your relationship. Think about somewhere this might be showing up in your life. And right before I hit that finish line, I'm not saying that I would scarf down 3 boxes of Cocoa Puffs or whatever, but I would tap the brakes, subconsciously tap the brakes. Never, ever, ever got to that one number. And I think that's fascinating. We're talking, so this was 20 years ago, still have not gotten to that number. And I'm happy, I'm healthy, everything's great. There is a part of me that will always, always consider myself to be that person, that little girl, not so little girl, that persona of, oh yeah, I've always struggled with my weight, or, oh yeah, I've always been overweight, or, oh yeah, I'm fat, or whatever the case may be. I don't like the word fat. I've always identified that way. So it really messes with my beliefs if I then step into this other identity or this other persona. So what I want to talk about today, and I realize this is an incredibly long intro because it's really, really powerful. And I want to make sure that you're with me before we start, is this idea of self-sabotage as a form of protecting your persona. And particularly for many of the women I work with, it is procrastination. Procrastination as protecting your persona. So here we go, Podsters. Let's dive in here. Okay. So again, we're going to talk about one area of our lives, Podsters. We're going to talk about relationships, career, business, and your health and happiness. So as you're listening to this, if you're like, nope, Nance, I'm all set in the relationship, great relationships, never self-sabotage. Okay. Maybe you're doing it in your career. Maybe you're doing it in your business. If you're not doing it anywhere, fantastic. I would question that, but if you're not doing it anywhere, great. Share this episode with someone who you think would like to hear it. And or you never know what kind of nugget you're going to get. So let's talk about relationships. This just happened. I was talking to somebody who's in a new relationship, and she said to me, I always blow it. I always blow it. I always blow it. So think about that, Podsters. Think about that. She's in a new relationship, and immediately she goes to, I always blow it. I always blow it. First of all, okay, maybe it's not you always blowing it. Perhaps it's your choices. Perhaps it's not you. Maybe you've just had crappy luck. I don't know. But if you go in to this new relationship thinking, I always blow it, I always blow it, what do you think is going to happen? You are going to sabotage or blow it, as this person liked to say. So this could show up a number of ways. But so again, I'm talking about women and men in relationships, which I am hardly an expert. This is an observation. So it could be if you start dating someone new and you are constantly checking in with them, right? That's not fun for anyone. I am not saying to play games. I am not saying to go out and buy that old book, The Rules. I don't know if any of you remember that. Wow, we can dive into that one on another episode. I'm not saying you need to play games. This is about, I know I shouldn't do this. I know I shouldn't text him 3 times a day, or I know I shouldn't, I know I shouldn't do this because I need to give someone space, not because of rules, just because I know I wouldn't want someone doing that with me. It would annoy me. And yet you do it and you can't stop yourself. That is a form of self-sabotage. Let's say it's a relationship with your family. Many of us have tumultuous relationships with some people in our family. Perhaps it's a parent, perhaps it's a sibling, perhaps it's a child. Self-sabotage here might show up as slipping back into old patterns, which we all do, and recognizing you're doing that and not wanting to do that and wanting to correct that behavior and doing it anyway. So, it could be picking a fight with a sibling or pushing your parents' buttons, or, some people do it with their kids, really taking out your frustrations on your children or trying to take power back with your kids when they're just a kid and they're trying to exercise their independence. So it could show up a number of ways with family, getting someone going. So let's talk about with your spouse. And I did some research on this, and one of the number one ways, think about actually, I would say guess, but I can't because we can't talk to each other. The number one way many people sabotage their relationship with their spouse is by cheating. And if this is something you have done, if this is something you have experienced, there's a reason why you did it, obviously. And perhaps there was some part of you or some part of your spouse, if they're the one that did it, that wanted to get caught because they weren't happy in the relationship, and this was a way to get out. That's a self-sabotage. Being too critical, that's another way, particularly in a long-term relationship, that many people, men and women, might sabotage the relationship. When you're doing it. When you're doing it. And the key is to observe the behavior and then try to correct it, which I'm going to get into in a minute. So before I move on to career, I want to point out one more relationship sabotage, and it's the first thing I mentioned, expecting the worst. I always screw it up. Things never work out for me. I always end up with losers, whatever. And this isn't a new relationship. What if you could expect the best? What if this is actually your time? What if this is it? This is the one, to be cliche. It's not fair to put your issues on the other person. And it's not, think about it. Think about if you're on the receiving end of that. You're going into a relationship with somebody and they're expecting the worst from you. How would that make you feel? You owe it to this new person in your life to assume the best and to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to leave that there. Okay, let's go to career. I love talking about this. Career sabotage or self-sabotage number one is procrastination. And I see this in every single coaching client, executive coaching client that I work with. This could be not updating your resume. How many of you haven't updated your resume in 10, 15 years? I didn't update my resume for like 20 years. Now, is that self-sabotage? Perhaps if you know you're looking for a different job or a different career. If you're looking for a different career or you're thinking about a different career and you don't have your resume updated, and by resume I also mean LinkedIn, so let's just consider that your virtual resume. If you have not taken the time to update that, you're not really serious about a new career or changing careers or a new job. That is the number one easiest, tactical, highest impact thing you can do. And if you're not doing it, why? There's a reason. So either you don't really want it or you're self-sabotaging yourself. So, and we'll get to the reasons why in a second. Not updating your LinkedIn, not networking. So here's what I mean by that. So during the last several years of my corporate career, I knew that I wanted to do something different. And I oftentimes would go to trade shows. I was a career salesperson. And the meeting after the meeting is as powerful as the actual meeting. So this would be the networking afterwards. It is part of the game. It is part of what you sign up for. And it is what you have to do if you want to continue to elevate in your career. I'm not saying that you have to do this. I'm saying if you want to keep elevating and networking, that comes with the territory. In my case, I stopped going to the after parties because I was toast. I was done. I would do the trade show or the meeting or whatever it was. And then I would say, nope, I'm going to go relax, which is absolutely my right. It's your right too. Understand that that's going to set you back. It's going to set you back from connections. It's going to set you back from clients. You are going to continue, if you're lucky, at the same level if you don't invest that time and energy. And that might be fine for you. If you want to continue at that same level, great, good for you. Go get your whatever, go get a massage or have a nice dinner by yourself or with an old friend or whatever. But if you want to advance your career, you have got to network strategically at these events. You're doing yourself a disservice and you're self-sabotaging if you don't. Blasing an interview. I see this a lot as well. People are trying to advance in their careers and they take the interview lightly. And I coach a lot of people on interviews. Some people, I approach an interview like it's my job. I mean, I am a maverick at preparing for an interview, or I was when I was interviewing. And now I help others do the same. I am talking days getting ready for these because this is your one opportunity. And if you really want that job, you have to invest a lot of time and energy to positioning yourself powerfully. It can be done. I now consider it to be, quote, easy because I've done it so much. You have to invest the time. You can't sit down and for 15, 20 minutes, even an hour, I would argue, not enough time to prepare for a pivotal, important interview. So if you're not putting in that kind of time and getting professional help, either looking it up yourself and training yourself or hiring a coach to help you, that is self-sabotage. Blowing off a connection. This I've seen happen a lot as well. Somebody says to you, oh, you're interested in learning this new skill or or entering this field of expertise or this industry. My uncle does that. My friend does that. My husband does that. I'd be happy to set you up. I'd be happy to set the two of you up. You say, great, that's awesome. I'll reach out to him and then him or her, and then you never do. That is self-sabotage. You are purposely or subconsciously undermining your own success. And finally, I'm going to say this knowing that it might sound a little self-serving because it's important. Having access to resources and not taking advantage of those. So I'm going to get into this one a little bit more when we talk about business, but coaching, self-paced videos, seminars on Eventbrite, wherever, LinkedIn Lives. There is so much free content out there and paid services to help you level up your career. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're taking advantage of some of it. If you're thinking about changing careers, or you're ready to change careers or industries or start your next chapter, whatever the case may be, and you are not investing in someone to help you do it, I'm not saying you're sabotaging. You are consciously delaying reaching that goal. Hiring someone to help you will get you there so much faster. I have done it. I have done it with my health. I have done it with my business. I have done it with my career. I have never regretted hiring a coach. And this Do the Thing retreat that I have coming up, that you probably heard a note about, it's coming up November 5th and 6th. This is the perfect opportunity. I'm taking 12 weeks of coaching and we are condensing it to 2.5 days. You get in, you get out, and you have done the thing, whatever that thing is. So if you're not looking into that and applying for that and talking to me about that, I'm not sure how bad you want it, or perhaps this is a form of self-sabotage because that resource is available to you. Okay. Let's talk about self-sabotage in your business. So this is if you're a business owner or if you have a side hustle. Okay. I've seen this. Oh, I see this so much. And this really upsets me because any business can be successful if it's a viable business, obviously. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're a smart person and you're a person who works on their self-development, and you are a person who is for help and resources and information. In your business, there are a few things. One, playing small with your network. Here's what I mean by that. When you look around at who you're networking with, and when I say network, I mean, who are your business besties, or who are you spending time with? If you have a podcast, who are you inviting on your podcast? Who are you partnering up with? What kind of partnering are you doing? What kind of strategic partnerships are you embarking in? Look around. And if it's the same people and you've been like kind of hanging with these same people professionally for years, great. If you don't want to level up, that's great. If you want to level up and all of these people are staying at the same level, perhaps it's time to widen your network a little bit. And so here's what I mean by that, because I don't want this to come across as dump your friends, dump your business colleagues. I don't, because we all have our support networks and they work for us. If you're stuck and you're not leveling up and you want to, some of us don't. Some of us are fine to cruise along. Our business is going great. Nice balance. I like where I'm at. Fantastic. And also, if you are wanting to earn more income, if you are wanting to level up, if you are wanting to speak on bigger stages, if you are wanting to, author the book, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, in your network, in that network, people haven't done that. You're not looking to at least one of them as a role model for what you want to be, what you want to be, not what you are now. Then it's time to find someone who is living this life professionally that you want. Same thing when we get into health and happiness. So when you look around, make sure that some of the people in your network are elevated at a place where you want to go. And that might mean that you have to buy into this. So here's what I mean by that. I was listening to a podcast a while ago from someone that I really, really respect and admire. And she talked about, if you want, like, let's say there's somebody that you admire professionally. So let's say it's Mel Robbins. Okay. I'm going to use Mel Robbins because I love Mel Robbins. If I want to get in her circle, if I want Mel Robbins level success, the only difference between me and Mel, there's a lot of differences, but is that she went for it. She went for it. She did the thing. I have not invested as much time and energy into this life as Mel Robbins has. I haven't. Now, I adore her. I think she's fantastic. I would love to have her business and her career, but I'm cool right now. Right now, not a priority. I digress. So let's say Mel Robbins was doing a high level mastermind or a coaching program, a live coaching program. If I want to level up, I need to get into that program or get into that circle. And I'm using Mel as an example. Let's say there's a woman out there that I very much respect and admire, Amy Porterfield. She is incredibly successful. She's the queen of online courses and marketing. She's fantastic. If I want Amy Porterfield level success, I want to get in front of Amy Porterfield, or I want to get in that circle. And how do I do that? This is what this podcast talked about. Some people need to pay to play. I would first of all, there's many things you can do without paying. So comment on their social media, tag them in social media, support them. So let's say I wanted to get in front of Mel. I would do exactly that. Tag her on social media, help promote her, maybe send her a DM. I'm sure she has a team that checks it. Maybe it's her. I know a lot of people, I check my own DMs. A lot of my colleagues check their own DMs. I remember my business coach, Tiffany Carter, who has, by the way, top 5 podcast in entrepreneurship, not top 5% like me, top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I reached out to her. I reached out to her on Instagram. I reached out to Brenda Johnston on Instagram. So a lot of it is tagging people, reaching out, kind of getting into that network. And then at one point, sometimes you need to buy into that, buy a coaching program, buy one of their products and tag them when you're using it. And that's if you're really, really like, you're like, you know what, I'm done here. I am done. That is what I want. And that is what you want. That is one way to do it. I did not love when I heard this podcast episode because I was like, well, that's pay to play and that's bullshit. And you should just be able to network. And yes, yep, absolutely. I agree with all that. And at the same time, if you want to fast track, then getting in front of the people that you listen to their podcasts or the people that you love their products, the people that you really want to get in front of, the best way to get in front of them is to be at an event with them or attend one of their events. And a lot of time that comes with a price tag, a physical price tag. Okay. But if you don't, great. Find them on social media, tag them. I have met a lot of people that I respect and admire and never thought I would get in front of simply by reaching out to them on social media. Okay, so that's one. So you have your network, you have how to expand your network there. And then the third is, okay, I'm going to talk about a very specific free resource that's out there. It's called SCORE, SCORE. And this is a network for, not a network, it's a resource library for small business owners. Every one of their webinars is free. They have some incredibly powerful how-to videos. SCORE, Google SCORE. And if you're struggling with how to, let's say, build your own website, first of all, I would say hire someone to do that. That is 1,000% worth the investment. Your website is something that you will always go back to. You don't want to skimp on your website. If you are shoestring right now and you're just starting out, there are a ton of webinars on how to build your own website, how to do your own social media marketing, how to write your community emails. Speaking of which, self-sabotage is the topic of my email this week that's going out. If you're not a member of my confidence community, there's a link in the show notes. Hop on, free resource. And this week's is about self-sabotage. So there's a ton of resources in the SCORE network. And then the last, and I have to tell you, Podsters, this is my Achilles heel. It is a lack of discipline. So you know what you need to do. And you know that consistency and commitment is how you will move forward. And if you're not, power to you, Podsters. Is it a hobby that's your job? Is it a very expensive hobby? What are you doing? What are you doing? What's your burn rate? As Danny likes to say to me when I'm going, when I'm my business ebbs and flows. And when I'm in a valley, in terms of things are a little more quiet, he'll say, well, what's your burn rate? And what he means is how much are you spending versus how much are you taking in your business? If you are not looking at that, which a lot of female entrepreneurs do not, that's something that you need to look at. What are you burning? What are you burning through? The lack of discipline in scheduling your social media posts, the lack of discipline in attending network events, the lack of discipline in networking on LinkedIn, the lack of discipline in showing up where you know you need to show up, the lack of discipline in setting specific quarterly goals, whatever the case may be. So that is a form of self-sabotage. You know what you need to do. And if you're not doing it, you have to ask yourself why. And the big one here, Podsters, is if you know you're ready for your next level, this is career, this is business, this is health. I really want to say you have got to get some help, because there's a certain point, again, it's this protecting our persona when you self-sabotage. So if you blow off what you know you need, if you blow off the areas of your business that you know need attention, that is self-sabotage. Why are you doing it? So you need to A, help figure out why you're doing it. B, a coach will hold you accountable. And C, if you're investing in a coach, you're much less likely to self-sabotage because there's a ton of money. This is one of the reasons why I hired my business coach a couple of years ago. And by the way, I hired this coach and then had my best year yet. That is not a coincidence, Podsters. That is not a coincidence, because I was investing this money and I'm like, okay, this money I'm not throwing out the window. My Do the Thing retreat, it is a very reasonable price point. This is 2.5 days. You come, you go, it's done. You've done the thing. Could not be easier. So are you looking into it? Something to think about. Okay, let's go back to health and happiness. This is our final quadrant. Okay, our final quadrant. I haven't said the word quadrant since I left the corporate world, and I got to tell you, it's glorious. All right, our final quadrant. So let's look at, this could be your weight. It could be exercise. It could be eating right. So you could weigh 120 pounds, but you scarf Doritos every night for dinner. That's not healthy, Podsters. That is not the foundation to live a long, healthy, prosperous life. So why are you doing it? So again, you're protecting this persona. So again, let's go back to mine. Oh, I have a great example I wanted to talk about. Now, I need a fact checker on this one, because I tried to find this on Google, and I'm on the Google. I'm going to tell you, I remember watching an interview with Oprah where she talked about her struggle with her weight. And she talked about, at one point in the dark, in the middle of the night, pulling out a package of frozen waffles and covering those frozen waffles with maple syrup, frozen still, not cooking them, and eating them. Now, there's zero shade over here, zero judgment. We all do what we need to do. We all buffer how we buffer. Some of us use drugs. Some of us use alcohol. Some of us use exercise. Some of us use meditation. That is a healthier, obviously, approach. We all do what we do. I'm not judging. What I'm saying here is, how's that for self-sabotage? She wasn't hungry, Podsters. She was sabotaging her own success. And if you think about someone who, again, I'm going to go with myself, struggled with my weight my whole life, that is who I was. That is my old me. I was protecting my persona, because when you start to step into someone you don't know, that is incredibly scary. Incredibly scary. It's a huge unknown. And your brain and your mind and your instincts want to protect that. Okay. Oh, I just thought of something I wanted to mention about career. I'm going to go back for a second, and then I'm going to come back to health and happiness. When I left my company, I was with my company for over 25 years, and I would introduce myself. This is important, and I want to make sure I get it in here, which is why I'm telling you now. When I left my company and I would introduce myself, I left Marriott Hotels. I worked for Marriott Hotels over 25 years. And I would introduce myself to someone. They would say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I would say, "Well, I used to work for Marriott, and now I do this." This went on for about 6 months. I used to work for Marriott, and now I do this. Do you not find that odd, Podsters? That is this persona. For 25 years, I worked for another company, which is a great company. I worked for Marriott, and now I do this. That's how ingrained this was in my head as part of who I was. And it took months. I have a friend who left one organization within her company and went to another. And I noticed her when she would introduce herself at events, she would say, "Well, I used to do this and now I do this." And I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. This is how tied to this old version of ourselves we are. Something to be mindful of. Okay, let's go back to health and happiness. So we talked about weight. We talked about Oprah. So my point is with the frozen waffles, she was sabotaging her own success, getting closer to that goal. I heard this on an interview. I remember being struck by this, and I now can't find this anywhere. So I'm going to give this to you with an asterisk of, I believe this to be true and accurate. Can't find it. If you find it, send me a note, send me a link, please, because I want to make sure I can back this up. Anywho, your health and happiness. Here's a question. When you're scrolling through social media, and I'm going to encourage you, if this is something that you want to kind of stop doing, or you want to, you want to do it less, put a timer on your phone. Put one of those, you can time your social media, how many minutes you allocate to social media. Let's say you want to spend no more than 30 minutes a day scrolling. Set the timer and notice how often it pops up. There's a control on your iPhone. Just notice how often it pops up. If this is something you want to get control over, some people, this is their life. They love being on social media. Some people, I am one of them. I feel like I spend way too much time. It's an escape. And it's an escape from what? What could I be doing with that time? For me, this is a form of self-sabotage. If I'm sitting there and I know I need to pop out 15, 20 reels, or schedule this, or do something else in my life, and I'm past my time limit that I've set for myself, and I blow it off, you can blow off the timer and keep going. It's an escapism. Like just before this podcast, I was looking some stuff up for accuracy. A little ad came on, like these top 20 Amazon things that are going to make your life easier. And I went down that rabbit hole. No, that is not productive. That is not productive. Anyway, another form of escapism, or another form of self-sabotage could be mindless Netflix or mindless television. Here's where I'm going with this. I love some mindless TV. For me, it's an escape. It's like a numbing, like, if I can go watch like Real Housewives, or actually I don't watch Real Housewives. If I can watch, no shade, by the way, for those of you who do, the stories are incredible. It's just not my jam. If I'm going to watch a mindless something on Netflix, a docudrama. Oh, that's what I love, these docudramas. And I use quotes there because they're really kind of one-sided and slanted. Anyway, I love them. Or the true crime series on Netflix. I love them. Okay. Every Law and Order SVU episode I have seen. Love it, love it, love it. And it's an escape. And if I do it for an hour, great. If I'm like, Nancy, you're now at like 3-4 hours and it's definitely past your usual nighttime routine, that's a form of self-sabotage. I know I want to go upstairs at 9 or 10 latest. I usually go up at 9. I like to read a little bit before bed. These are my nighttime habits, my sleep habits. If I'm mindlessly in front of Netflix or the TV, that is 100% a form of self-sabotage. I know I'm impacting my sleep. I know I'm impacting how I'm going to work the next morning. Why am I doing it? I don't know. I might know, I might not, depending on the particular day. And awareness is half the battle. Okay. And the last really quick self-sabotage, in the last I'm going to cover today, there's plenty in your health and happiness, is not exercising. So if I had to guess, I would guess 80% of you podsters are exercisers. Maybe you're not, but I think probably 80% are. If you want to exercise more or differently, I'm going to use myself as an example again. Geez, I'm going to have to do a little self-esteem detox because I am sabotaging myself in a lot of places. Lifting weights. So I know I should, and I am going to use the word should. I don't like to use the word should. I know I should lift weights. I know I need to build strong, healthy bones. I know that I am now in my 50s. And yeah, this is very, very important. Not just for the metabolism boost. This for me is more about really having strong bones. I have, if I were to move this camera, I don't know, 3 sets of weights down in the corner next to my desk. Can't tell you the last time I actually used them. I know I need to do it. I have a subscription to a app where I can easily for 15 minutes do weights. I have a full gym in my basement. I am very fortunate to have access to all of these resources, and I am not using them. That is either laziness or procrastination or some kind of self-sabotage. I don't know, podsters, but I know that awareness is key, which So tying this back to you, if you want to walk more and you're not, just do it. Get off the couch and walk a little more. There's no magic key. There's no magic bullet, which is leading me to the last part of the episode, Podsters, which is how to overcome your self-sabotage. So the first thing I would say is to simply notice, and no judgment. Notice with self-compassion. Observe with self-compassion. The last thing I want you to do, or the last thing I want to do, is say, you know what, Nancy, you have had these weights next to your desk since you moved into this office. You're a loser. Get over yourself. Why haven't you done this? You're always going to have flappy arms, or whatever the case may be. Just forget it. Give it up. Don't even bother like that. No, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is simply notice and say, well, this is interesting. I have all the equipment right here. I have access to all of these resources. Why am I not doing this? And just kind of think about it. Like, what's happening here? What's happening with me right now is a term that my friend Brenda Johnston likes to use, or say to me or herself or whoever's, just observe what's happening with me right now. Like, why am I not making this a priority? And just think about it. Sit in the discomfort. That, to me, is huge. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Just sit in the discomfort. Why, when you ask yourself, let's say it's in business, why have I not invested in the coach? Why have I not invested in my website? When it's with your career, why haven't I really done more to actually do this? Because I don't want to wake up in my 60s and retire and have never done anything differently. If this is where you're at in your life, why haven't I really approached my relationships with a little bit more of seeking to understand, or whatever the case may be, whatever this behavior is that you've identified? Just sit with it. It's okay. It's okay, Podsters. Sit with it. We all do it. Think about it. So that's number one. I'm going to say that's number 1 and 1.5. This is what I wrote down, Podsters. This is so funny. This is okay. I get it. Now I know it. Have a plan. So this is the only other, this is the second maybe, and I'm going to do one more. So have a plan. I'm talking about if there is, so let's go back to me lifting weights. Okay. I'm making this about me because I think it's a specific example that we can follow, and it shows you that I'm doing the same thing. Have a plan. Okay. First plan was to have my weights next to my desk. They are there. I am still not using them. Okay. So the next logical thing would be let's set a schedule for when you want to lift weights. Let's just say Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Okay. I'm writing down Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm going to block 30 minutes. Okay. Just 30 minutes, because if I block an hour, here's what'll happen. I know myself. If I block an hour, I'll say, okay, I blocked an hour. I only need 30 minutes. So I'm going to go do something else for that first half hour. And then I'm going to lift my weights, and then I'll never do it. I'm going to block 30 minutes. And I'm going to do that for 1 month. Okay. That's my plan. I'm going to make sure that my app is up to date. I am maybe even going to pick a few different instructors that I like, or different sessions that I like. I am going to block the time, and that's it. It is that simple. What is your plan? Now, if your plan is to make your side hustle your full-time career, that's a little bit more complex. If your plan is to change careers, that's a little more complex. If your plan is to get that VP title, that is a little more complex. That you're going to need to break it down a little bit more. You might need some help with that. You might not. But the point is to just do it. Okay. So finally, the third thing is to have an accountability partner. So this could look a number of ways. It could be a workout buddy. It could be a coach. It could be your business bestie. It could be a family member. So let's go with my weights, right? I tried this with a couple of different people, with a couple of different accountability partners, and I blew that off too, which is fascinating. Like I really want to figure out why I do this. So for me, for the weights, what I'll probably do, because this is really this is real time live. This is important to me, and I'm not doing it. And it's not about looks. It's about health. I am going to talk to my husband, and I'm going to say, here's the deal. I really want to lift more weights. He can hold me accountable. He's a beautiful, wonderful mirror for me. So I'm going to go to him and say, here's the scoop. I want to make sure I'm working out 3 times. I'm lifting weights 3 times a week. Here's what I've done. Can you please check in with me on these days and help me make sure I'm doing it? That done. Boom. Bing, bang, boom. Could be, like I said, could be a friend, could be anything. So, podsters, this is all to say, who you have always been is not who you will always be. And you get to decide how you show up, and you get to decide what your life looks like. And this life that you think is only available for other people, or this career you think is only available for other people, the business. Again, I'm going to go back to Mel Robbins. I could have Mel Robbins level success if I put my mind to it. You could too. You could have that executive level career if that's what you want, if you put your mind to it. Any of this is available to you. You get to decide who you are, and you get to decide the life that you choose. And this is your opportunity to do that. So, podsters, I love you. I hope you can take at least one or two nuggets from this episode. If you would like me to bring in an expert on self-sabotage, I will. I need you to let me know that it's important to you. So shoot me a DM. If you're listening to the podcast, maybe take a screenshot, put it in your stories on Instagram, shoot me a note on LinkedIn, email me. It's nancymedoff@nancymedoff.com. However you can find me, Facebook, wherever, I'm everywhere. Let me know what resonated with you. I will bring in an expert to help us talk about this and work through this. But I want to make sure that it's resonating with you first. I love you. Do the Thing retreat happening. Those doors are open probably by the time you're listening to this. If doors aren't open, there's a wait list. This is something, podsters, that it's really incredibly powerful. This is something that I offer this is a tenth of what these services would cost usually, because I believe in this. I think everybody has the right to grab that life that you know is available to you. And this is a way I can help you do it. Podsters, I love you. Peace out until next time. That's it, podsters.
That's a wrap, podsters. And before we go, I ask you, what's one thing from today's episode that you will use this week to unmute yourself? DM me, email me, send a smoke signal, whatever you need to do. Let me know what you're going to do differently. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you know and leave a 5-star review on Apple. This helps me spread our message of empowerment to more people worldwide. Let's do this.